Hey, shalom, shalom to the lost scattered sheep of the house of Israel, so-called blacks, Hispanics, Native Americans. You are the Israelites of the Bible. Today I'm gonna get into a topic that I'm sure a lot of you are gonna be celebrating, and it's No More Valentine's Day. You know, 'cause, Valentine's Day. What is it? People will say that Valentine's Day is a day about love. It's about you know getting together with your husband and your wife or your girl, boyfriend and girlfriend, etc. You know what I'm saying? That's what was promoted. That it's a day about love and affection. But why do we need a day to love our wives, man? Like, why do we need a day to love our wives? Why do we have to do this every year? Why do we do this every year, though? If you can just love your wife whenever, you know what I'm saying? Um, to understand this, you know what I'm saying, we got to get into the origins. Where did this day come from? How did Valentine's Day became a day to celebrate year by year, right? And it comes from this festival. Uh, s- uh, According to I got all my information is sourced from Britannica and the Wikipedia. It's like it. So it's a festival, right? It's a Lupercalia, also known as Lupercal, was a pastoral festival of ancient Rome observed annually from February 13th to February 15th to purify the city, promoting health and fertility, right? So what would they do in this festival, right? They said they would sacrifice goats and dogs by the Luperci, which the Luperci were basically the priests that were ordained to make sure everything was going smoothly in this festival, right? It says um, they would sacrifice goats and dogs and offer cakes. And then there's this fertility, right? Which they'll take goat's skin, right? They'll dip it in milk and blood, right? And they would strike women who wish to conceive. So basically, those women that want to, have children and be fertile, they would get beat by these men. They'll run in the street and start whipping them essentially. That's kind of dark. You know what I'm saying? That don't sound too friendly right now. That ain't sounding like how the world promotes Valentine's Day so far. But let's just continue, right? And it says the origins of the festival are this is what according to Britannica. So the origins of the festival are obscure, although the likely derivation of its name comes from lupus, which means wolf, has variously suggested connections with an ancient deity who protected herds from wolves and with the legendary she-wolf who nursed Romulus and Remus. As a fertility rite, the festival is also associated with the god Faunus. So who is this Faunus person now, right? And Faunus was the rustic god of the forest, plains, and fields. When he made cattle fertile, he was called Enus. He came to be equated in literature with the Greek god Pan, after which Romans depicted him as a horned god. So who is it? So why they name him Enus or Enus, if I'm mispronouncing it, right? Why do they call him this? What does this mean? Let's get into that. So Enus was a god or an aspect of a god who embodied sexual intercourse. The evidence for him as a distinct entity is scant. Marius Servius Honoratus wrote that Ennius is an epithet of Faunus, Greek Pan, based on the etymology. I'm sorry, I skipped a line. Uh, I'm gonna read it from the top again. Marius Servius Honoratus wrote that Inuus is an epithet of Faunus named from his habit of intercourse with animals. So now you got this god, right? Named Faunus, right? Who was a rustic god of the forest, plains, and fields, and right, and it said, when there was this process where he made cattle fertile, and they called him Inuus, and Inuus is God's sexual intercourse, right? And it says that he had a habit of having sexual intercourse with animals. So now it's bestiality. So he was sleeping with these cows and giving his kids or his seed into these cattle and making them fertile as they call it in this historical reference. That's really sick. That's not even godly whatsoever. Let me get the precept for that. Let me show you in the law. And go to Leviticus. get Leviticus chapter 20, and I'm gonna read verse 15 through 16. So this is Leviticus chapter 20 and verse 15. And if a man lie with a beast, he shall surely be put to death, and ye shall slay the beast. And if a woman approach unto any beast and lie down thereto, thou shalt kill the woman and the beast. They shall surely be put to death. Their blood shall be upon them. God has said, if a man or woman decides to sleep with a beast, decided to sleep with a dog, whether it's a cow, whether it's a horse, whether it's a sheep, a pig, God says, do not have sex with them. Man and woman were supposed to come together in order to reproduce, to be fruitful and multiply, and to, continue for the next, to bring the next generation. Not to have you sleeping with animals. Animals are served for its purpose. Horses are used for travel. Cattle are used for like milk and hide, like leather. Sheep, they're wool for linen. They're wool for warmth. Pigs are natural garbage cans. They're not made for humans to be having sex with. So you have this God here, this so-called God, right? Sleeping with animals, committing bestiality, which is clearly against God, and this is still around Valentine's Day. But we're gonna get to that. Because you might be thinking, well, that's just Lupercalia. That didn't even say anything about Valentine's Day yet. We're gonna get there. We're gonna get there. Let's continue, right? So I'm gonna start back from the Marius Silvius part, right? It says Marius Silvius Honotaurus wrote that Inuus is an epithet of Faunus named from his habits of sexual of intercourse with animals based on the etymology of Inindium, a going in penetration from Enire to enter in the sexual sense. Other names for the god were Fatus or Fatuculus with a short a, right? So who is this Pan? Because they also equated Faunus with Pan in Greek for Pan being a god in Greek mythology, right? So who is this Pan person then, right? Because maybe he's different. I don't think so, but let's just see. It says Pan. It says is the god of the wild, shepherds and flocks, rustic music, impromptus, and companion of the nymphs. Pan was generally represented as a vigorous and lustful figure with having horns, legs, and ears of a goat. So damn. So wait a minute. So now it's saying that Faunus was a sexual person. Inuus was a sexual person who liked to have sex with animals. And now you got Pan, who's this lustful and vigorous figure who engaged in a lot of immoral sex, right? But let's continue. It says Pan is famous for his sexual prowess and is often depicted with a phallus. Digeneus of Sinope, speaking in jest, related a myth of Pan learning masturbation from his father Hermes and teaching the habit to shepherds. So now you have Pan um learning masturbation from his father. So his father is real sick. Now you're getting into incest or a level of incest in a sense, because now you got a father and a son looking at each other's nakedness. So now it's really actually homosexuality. I'm so like you're not incest, homosexuality. Where now you got a man and his son naked together, playing with themselves, and then Pan teaches men to do that also, engaging in lascivious activities. Lascivious meaning a strong sexual desire, right? So let's continue. It says, according to some traditions, Pan taught Daphnis, a rustic son of Hermes, how to play the panpipes and also fell in love with him. Now you show that Pan is engaging in a form of homosexuality. Now he's like, man, I love this person now. Man, I just want everything to do with this person. Now you got Pan over here doing homosexuality now, right? And all still equated with this Lupercalia festival. Let's continue. It says women who had sexual relations with several men were referred to as pan girls. So now you got women in orgy. Now you got orgies in play. You got homosexuals in there. You got sleeping with animals. You got homosexuality, all going on during this day, all going on through this period of these 3 days from February 13th all the way to the 15th, right? So now that's just the history on how or what this festival was about, right? Now let's get into the history. Let's see how it changed to Valentine's Day. How did Lupercalia change to Valentine's Day? Let's see, right? It says, despite the banning in 391 of all non-Christian cults and festivals, the Lupercalia was celebrated by the nominally Christian populace on a regular basis into the until the reign of the Emperor Anastasius Pope Gallus, sorry, Gelasius the First, which he was from 494 to 496, right? So in Rome in 391 they had banned all cults and festivals and all kind of stuff except for Lupercalia. So except for this day, Lupercalia or this festival, they decide to keep, right? And said it was celebrated by both Hellenistic Jews, the Romans, and all the other nations, right? Until this Pope guy, this Pope Gelasius the First, right? And it says he claimed that the only vile rabble were involved in the festival and sought its forceful abolition. So he basically banned this festival because of all of all the immoral sex and all kinds of madness that was going on in this day, right? But here's the kicker though, right? It says the Roman Senate protested that the Lupercalia was essential to Roman safety and well-being. So the Roman Senate did not agree with what he was doing, what he was trying to ban this festival. It said it was essential. It was very important to Romans' way of life. So orgies was essential to Romans' way of life. Fornication, bestiality, homosexuality, all this was essential to them. And they say you can't get rid of this day. This is our way of life, right? So let's see what Pope did. So Pope Gelasius the First replaced Lupercalia with Saint Valentine's Day, celebrated on the February 14th. So he replaced Lupercalia. He said, we're going to change the name and replace it with Saint Valentine's Day. So who is Saint Valentine, right? Let's get into it. Saint Valentine's connected to February 14th included including an account of the imprisonment of Saint Valentine of Rome for ministering to Christians persecuted under the Roman Empire in the 3rd century. According to an early tradition, Saint Valentine restored sight to the blind daughter of his jailer. Numerous later additions to the legend have better related it to the theme of love. Tradition maintains that Saint Valentine performed weddings for Christian soldiers who were forbidden to marry by the Roman emperor. Uh, an 18th century embellishment to the legend claims he wrote the jailer's daughter a letter signed "Your Valentine" as a farewell before his execution. So basically, they're saying that this Saint Valentine was a person who was preaching the word of God to the Israelites or the Christians at that time, and he was put in jail and persecuted and all that, and he healed a jailer's daughter. And then they said in the 18th century, according to this legend, it claims that he wrote to the jailer's daughter a letter signed "Your Valentine." Now that's where you get into the whole aspect of the cards where they're sending, oh, it's your Valentine here, this I love you, this section of third from your Valentine. That's where you get that whole part from, right? I'll read it again. It says and the 18th century embellishments to the legend claims he wrote the jailer's daughter a letter signed "Your Valentine" as a farewell before his execution. The 8th century Galatian sacramentary recorded the celebration of the feast of Saint Valentine on February 14th. The day became associated with romantic love in the 14th and 15th centuries when notions of courtly love flourished, apparently by association with the lovebirds of early spring. So you see how it just turned, they just twisted it entirely. So first it was about loving your brothers. He was loving his folk, his kinfolk, and it turns now romantically all of a sudden, right? But we understand the notion why it turned that way because it stems from a pagan festival, Lupercalia, where it was all about whoredom, fornication, orgies, homosexuality, and bestiality. Right? But continue, right? Says in the 18th century England, it grew into an occasion for couples to express their love for each other by presenting flowers, offering confectionery, and sending greeting cards known as Valentines. And it says Valentine's Day symbols that are used today include the heart-shaped outlines, doves, and the figure of the winged Cupid. Now, who is this Cupid now? Now we got someone new in the picture. Who is this Cupid person now? Because they had to replace Lupercalia. They can't have the so-called god Faunus and Pan and Inuus in there no more. No, they got to replace them. So who is this Cupid? Let's get into it. It says it's Cupid, or and in Latin is Cupido, meaning passionate desire. It says Cupid is the god of desire, erotic love, attraction, and affection. What is erotic? Let's get the definition of erotic real quick. So like, give me 1 second. So this is a definition of erotic. Relating to or tending to arousal, sexual desire, or excitement. So now you have this Cupid person, right? Who is, it says, so it says this Cupid is the god of desire, erotic love. So the sexual love, attraction, and affection. That's already showing bad signs, right? That sounds already a whole lot like Pan and Faunus that we read earlier, and Inuus. But let's continue. And Lucretius' physics of sex, Cupido can represent human lust and animal instinct to mate. Now we have, it says human lust, dealing with wanting to sleep with a person. What now in this case, for these people, for these individuals, for the Romans of this time, or the Catholic Church of this time, or not Catholic Church, so like of the Romans at this time with Pope Gelasius the first and all that, right? It says erotic love. So now we're dealing with, or human lust. Now we're dealing with love, whether a man loves a woman, it loves a man, or an animal, right? Because it says, and an animal instinct to mate, mating dealing with sexual intercourse. But it says, but also the impulse of atoms to bond and form matter. An association of sex and violence is found in the erotic fascination for gladiators, who often had sexualized names such as Cupido. So now they had, some gladiators, they were built or whatever. They decided to name him Cupido based after this pagan god, Cupid, who was the god of erotic love and affection, right? So put two and two together, you got Faunus, who was a god of uh lust. You had Pan being the god of lust in Greek mythology, and now you got Cupid, who is the same thing. They're all the same thing. They're all generally around the same person, the same concept. This concept being acts of fornication being kept on this day, right? So, what is love according to God then? What is love according to the Bible? Let's get that real quick. Let's go to Romans 13 and 10 real quick. Because we already seen that in according to God that what they preach. So actually, before we get Romans 13, let me get Leviticus 20 again. Let me get Leviticus 20 to show that God is, not a liar. He not capping, because we already seen that bestiality. He not with that whatsoever. He said you gonna be put to death, and the animal that you slept with is gonna die. Let's get verse 13. This is Leviticus chapter 20 and verse 13. If a man also lie with mankind as he lieth with a woman, both of them have committed an abomination. They shall surely be put to death. Their blood shall be upon them. So it said, if a man also lie with mankind as he lieth with a woman, they ain't talking about they have a sleepover. No, they talking about if they have sex, sexual intercourse. If a man entering another man, that is an abomination to God. You know what an abomination is? Something detestable, something disgusting that God utterly hates. He utterly hates homosexuality, especially. So if if you call yourself a God-fearing woman, but you love another man, you calling yourself a Christian, but God says homosexuality is wrong, you are a liar, and you need to repent. Now let's get what true love is, because that's Lupercalia, aka Valentine's Day. That's not true love, not in the slightest. Get that Romans 13 and 10. This is Romans chapter 13 and verse 10. Love worketh no ill to his neighbor. Therefore, love is the fulfilling of the law. So love is keeping the commandments, and it works no ill for no person. When you keep that law of a man not sleeping, if you're not a homosexual, right? You keep that law that deletes a lot of worries of catching a sexual transmitted disease or STD. If you're not being a hoe in this society, in this community, in our communities, it deletes a lot of breaking up of the households and STDs. It eliminates that risk. That's the word I'm looking for. It eliminates the risk of catching certain STDs and breaking up of households. Let's get it. Let me get the next precept. Let me get 1 John 2 and verse 5. First John chapter 2 and verse 5. But whoso keepeth his word in him, verily is the love of God perfected. Hereby we know, hereby know we that we are in him. So if you keeping the commandments, it shows that you love God, because love is not just a feeling as the world promotes it, how Valentine's promotes it, or Valentine's Day promotes it. Love is an action. You could say you can't just be, oh, I love this person, but you going to continue sleeping with this brother's wife. You can't say you love this person, but you continue to extort and steal and use usury on your people on a daily basis. You cannot say that you love this person, but you continue to kill your own. You can't say I love black people, but you continue to kill your own brothers and sisters on a daily basis when you're in or not even on a daily basis, just killing your brothers and sisters in gang violence. Love is an action. How you know when someone truly loves you? They're going to tell you when you're right. They're gonna help you when you're right, and they're gonna tell you when you're wrong. And because I'm showing that right now, how I'm showing you how Valentine's Day is wrong, because I love you and I want you to repent and I want you to get into the kingdom of heaven. I want you to have that immortality. I want you to have the heavenly gifts and to continue to get your blessings and to be more successful in this world. It's 2024 and you want to talk and you want to keep Valentine's Day knowing it's pagan. The research is out there. Do your research. Now that gets me to this next precept, Colossians 2 and 8. Let me get that. Colossians 2 and verse 8. This is Colossians chapter 2 and verse 8. Beware lest any man spoil you through philosophy and vain deceit, after the traditions of men, after the rudiments of the world, and not after Christ. You can't let people tell you what Valentine's Day is. You got to do your research. You cannot, it says, beware lest any man spoil you through philosophy and vain deceit. They're telling you that Valentine's Day is about love and affection and, oh, you got to get with your partner. Why is it always promoted? You don't want to be alone for Valentine's Day. Go ahead and get your hearts, your kisses, and your flowers. All that for what? So that you can sleep with that person? It's not to show true love and affection. It's just for sex. That's all that's talking about. That's all what that is. And it says, after the traditions of men, this is a men tradition. This is not godly ordained. This is pain. This is vain, and this deals with idolatry. This deals with fornication, homosexuality, bestiality, whoremongering, etc. Nothing godly whatsoever about this day, not even in the slightest, right? It says, after the rudiments of the world, not after Christ. It's not after Christ. Let's go to Proverbs 4 and 7. This is Proverbs chapter 4 and verse 7. Wisdom is the principal thing. Therefore, get wisdom, and with all thy getting, get understanding. So we got to understand, why are we keeping this thing? Why are we continuously doing this annually, running our pockets, dipping into our savings, our personal savings, to celebrate this pagan folly day? We got to get the wisdom, we got to get the understanding that this is not a day we should be celebrating. These pagan days like Christmas, Halloween, 4th of July, all these days we're not supposed to be celebrating. God has feast days for us to celebrate. It's in Leviticus chapter 23. All that getting, get understanding, man. You got to examine the matter, and you got to study to show yourself approved. Let's go to James 4 and 4. It's my last precept. James chapter 4 and verse 4. Ye adulterers and adulteresses, know ye not that the friendship of the world is enmity with God? Whosoever therefore will be a friend of the world is the enemy of God. So it's saying to you, adulterers and adulteresses, you whoremongers, you people that like to be on OnlyFans, you people that like to sleep around with your neighbors, sleeping around with your friends, your co-workers, your classmates. It says, know ye not that the friendship of the world is enmity with God, right? It says, whosoever therefore will be a friend of the world is an enemy of God. Why would you be a friend of this world? This world promotes nothing but whoredom, fornication, homosexuality, murdering your brothers, stealing from your brothers and sisters. Try to hit you with a reverse psychology, telling you to love your enemies, but that scripture is talking about your brothers and your sisters, your own kinfolk, because you're going to have opposition. You're going to have times you disagree with one another, but that's a topic for another day. You don't want to be an enemy of God, because if you're an enemy of God, you're going to be put in the lake of fire, and that's where you don't want to go. It says it's going to be weeping and gnashing of teeth. It's going to be gritting, going, it's pain. It's very painful, and it's eternity of going through this. You don't want that. I don't want that for you. I don't want that. You know what I'm saying? So I'm gonna get. I said my last precept, but I gotta get this precept, man. I got to. It's 1 John 2 and verse 15, down to I'm gonna read down to 17. So it's 1 John chapter 2 and verse 15. Love not the world, neither the things that are in the world. If any man love the world, the love of the Father is not in him. So if you love this world, you love the traditions, you love Valentine's Day, you love Christmas, you love Halloween, you love Thanksgiving, love of the Father ain't in you. And you a liar by saying that you love God. You're like, oh God, I love God. Well, I got a personal relationship with God. No, you don't. No, you don't, because he don't talk to sinners. He don't deal with sinners, man. He don't deal with that. He don't deal with people that are whoremongers. He doesn't deal with people that are homosexual. That's abominable. He don't deal with liars. That's one of the things he hates. He hates liars. And you want to be a liar. Read verse 16. Verse 16. For all that is in the world, the lust of the flesh and the lust of the eyes and the pride of life is not of the Father, but of the world. So that's what's all promoted. Lust of the flesh. What's going on right now? What's going on? What's the function? Where we going? What we doing? Where the hoes at? Right? Verse 17. And the world passeth away, and the lust thereof. But he that doeth the will of God abideth forever. If you do the will of the Most High, you gonna be blessed continually, forever. So be careful what you decide to participate in, man. Especially if you proclaim yourself to be a God-fearing person, man or woman, or calling yourself a Christian. And with that, I say shalom.